James Tallarico. That same poll shows Crockett has an overwhelming amount of support from Black voters. The DOJ says they're moving forward with their lawsuit against Minneapolis Public Schools, saying the district discriminates against teachers based on
looking forward to an exciting first quarter, packed with must-attend events to kick off the new year just right. In January, join us for our inaugural Brotherhood Brunch, bringing together community leaders, change makers, and everyday people for inspiration and connection. February means it's time for our signature Black History Month luncheon, a powerful celebration you won't want to miss. And in March, Women's History Month, we're once again hosting our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium and Luncheon, addressing the issues that matter most inside our community. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, happy holidays. Stay tuned for more details on these incredible upcoming events. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice, your community, your power.
Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. The Jesse Jackson Junior Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Thank God it's Fat Meat Fridays. Reflectivity with Gina Towns on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're going to be with you for an exciting 2 hours. Gina Towns is the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and its executive producer. Our very special guest in the first hour is Bishop Joseph William Tolton, president of Interconnected Justice, a Black internationalist network that connects, unites, and mobilizes people of African descent across Africa and the diaspora. The organization aligns global Black political, economic, spiritual, and social resources to confront the most pressing threats to Black freedom and self-determination. As founding member of the Affirming Elders Council, Interconnected Justice's flagship program, Bishop Tolton has built a transnational faith-led alliance of more than 30 influential African American clergy, academics, civil society advocates, legal experts, and political strategists who collaborate closely with Gen Z youth activists. Members in more than 12 African countries and the United States, the Council advances Black internationalism as a framework for resisting the global rise of white Christian nationalism and its assault on Black bodies, democratic institutions, indigenous spiritualities, and African resources. Bishop Tolton, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
My brother, it is always good to be with you, Brother Jesse, and Sister Gina. You know it's good to see you.
It's always a pleasure to see you. Also with Bishop Tolton, his very special guest, our very special guest, is Bishop O.C. Allen III, presiding bishop and founder of the Vision Cathedral of Atlanta and the United Progressive Pentecostal Church Fellowship, internationally recognized for pioneering a radically inclusive, theologically rigorous movement at the intersection of Black church tradition and the LGBTQ affirmation, a leading voice in contemporary progressive Pentecostalism. Bishop Allen has shaped national conversations on faith, public policy, HIV advocacy, mental health, and human dignity. Bishop Allen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for having me.
We are particularly grateful that you are here, both of you on this occasion. Gina, why don't you get us started?
So how exciting today was this morning. The bishops hosted a conference, and that global anti-Black agenda of white Christian nationalism is what we're going to take a look at today. So we are all ears, and we are glad you're here. We want to get a little review of what happened this morning. How did you come to begin this conference, and what was behind it?
It's so good again to be with you all today. This conference has been stirring in my spirit, and I have been sharing it with the elders, one of which is Bishop Allen, who I've had the pleasure of working with, because we've got to be very clear that our politics have been captured by the extremist wing of the religious right. And for those of us who speak more in theological terms, they understand themselves as dominionists. They believe that it is the will of God that Christians should dominate the seven mountains of society, those areas of a society that define a society's culture, that really speak to the possibilities of religion actually really penetrating politics in a particular society and suffocating those politics until the society is transformed to the liking of that particular religious ideology. And in truth, this religious ideology is what we've talked about on this show several times around the doctrine of discovery, being that document that was cooked up by the Pope in the 1400s, really targeting the King of Portugal and giving him not only license, but a decree and a directive to go out and to enslave all of those who are non-Christians. And we are still living in the wake of the implications of the doctrine of discovery. And as I like to say, Project 2025 is just a modern day rearticulation of the doctrine of discovery. And so the anti-Blackness that is at the heart of what we've experienced as people of African descent over these last 400, 500 years plus is alive again today, and it is reanimated in our politics. And this conference was about identifying and naming it as anti-Blackness, and then connecting our brothers and sisters on the continent with us to have a conversation about what are the intersections, not just regarding the problem, because we don't want to over-admire the problem, but we really want to be in process around constructively speaking to the problem and speaking to the issues and building a policy apparatus that connects us. That's the first step. And then building some strategies and some tactics that together we can implement to really push back against the implications of white Christian nationalism across the continent and here in the United States.
Bishop Allen, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward, which is when we take our breaks. Bishop, why don't you give us some of your initial 2-minute insights on the conference, and we'll come forward in just a few moments with more about the Interconnectedness Conference. Bishop Allen?
Yeah, it was such an incredible opportunity to hear voices, scholars, pastors, politicians, people from all over in every genre who, are speaking the same voice. So there was a statement that was made today that there were a number of statements made today that resonated with me, but one was about how our task is not to observe dying empires, because, we are in this time and this age where really, I don't call it white supremacy, I call it white fragility. White fragility, the only way it survives, the only way it thrives is by being centered. And so all of the conversations, whether it's Trump or whether it's Project 2025, in order for it to live, it has to thrive. And so we see actually the death of empire. But one thing that we have to do is balance out our observations of it and really look at the empires that we build within ourselves as a diaspora. That was one of the things that I saw was, for us to build the future that we want is to build the future that we see and not build it off of just sort of how evangelicalism and all of its toxic nature and toxic voice try to sap the energy and the air out of ourselves, because that's what they've done historically. They've taken everything. And so the whole notion of Sankofa came up today, which is nothing more than go back and get it. And so today's conversation to me resonated around this idea of getting back to our source, getting back to our resilience, getting back to our history, getting back to who we are and what we can be, and build from that. And so all of these voices together brought that frame to the front.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're going to be talking about a very important conference that Bishop Tolton and Bishop O.C. Allen have been leading for the last day or so, and we can't wait until we come back from the break. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with Gina Towns, Bishop Tolton, and Bishop Allen.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
I got the champagne. Everybody's glass.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates our own Keith Underwood, host of the weekend entertainment show Black in the Green Room, on his recent honor at the annual National Arts and Entertainment Journalism Awards. Keith received a first place award presented by the Los Angeles Press Club for his entertainment reporting, and we couldn't be prouder. Congratulations, Keith, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency. All over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
Find what you love, love what you find. A total wine and more. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Celebrate good times, come on!
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Malik Books on celebrating 35 years in business.
It's a celebration.
Malik Books proudly houses one of the largest African American and diverse children's books in the nation. This is the perfect time to pick up holiday reads, meaningful gifts, and to support literacy in our community. For 35 years, Malik Books has stood strong in the Black Book Revolution, uplifting stories that heal, inspire, and transform. One reader at a time. Change your thoughts, change your life. Books are the gift that keeps giving. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, congratulations to Malik Books on 35 years of culture, pride, and community.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Thank God it is Fat Meat Friday with our host, Gina Towns, and our very special guest, Bishop William Tolkien, Bishop O.C. Allen III. We're particularly grateful because of a very important conference that they've been engaged in with academics, with ministers, with clergy, with theologians, navigating the space, the very aggressive assault on African American culture, African American thinking, the LGBTQIA community, all of whom, quite frankly, are the victims of the exhaust of a political system that has discounted our human bodies. It has discounted our thinking. It has discounted and taken advantage of our own self-worth. And so Gina, in her infinite wisdom, thought that this was a very important conference that we ought to dissect in this hour on our program. Gina?
And what an exciting day to do it, because everything is fresh on your mind. So tell us a little bit about the order and structure of the conference. How did you introduce the conference? Who were some of your keynote speakers and the topics that you addressed in that fashion, if that's how you guys organized?
No, absolutely. We began with Desiree Cormier-Smith, who you all might know. She served as the United States Special Envoy or Representative for Racial Equity and Justice under the Biden administration. It was a special position that President Biden did create, and the purpose of that position was really to look at the economic inequities and the political situations that accompany those economic inequities, particularly as it relates to Black people all around the world, so that U.S. foreign policy could properly address it. Now, obviously, we know that that position was probably one of the first positions to go when this new administration came in. But I think that the particular perspective that Desiree has had was really important as a starting point. We then asked Brother Eugene Scott from the Boston Globe to facilitate two conversations. The first was between Dr. Amara Enyia, the executive director of the Movement for Black Lives. She was in conversation with the Honorable Willie Mutunga, the former Chief Justice of Kenya's Supreme Court. And what they were able to deliver for us was an understanding of the legal quagmire that we are in at this moment. We then had Reverend Dr. Brad Braxton, president of Chicago Theological Seminary, in conversation with Bishop Pumla Nzimande, who is the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church of South Africa, as well as Reverend Dorcas Chebet, who is a womanist scholar at Pwani University in Kenya. And they were able to take a look at what was the outcome of that first conversation and speak to, if this is our legal dilemma, here is now a theological imperative for us to build a movement that catapults us forward. That was followed by a conversation among what we call our Generation Next leaders. These were college students from the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, Pwani University in Kenya, and the United Theological Seminary in Zimbabwe. We had students from Drew Theological here in America, Harvard Divinity School, the National Association of Black Lawyers, and probably one other school that I may be forgetting at the moment. But it was super important for these next generation leaders to then lift up the actual call for a third civil rights movement. Sankofa 21, a global Black freedom project, and then the different organizations that are in support of the work. And this was really an important piece. It's about working at the intersections. We had human rights organizations. We had social justice, civil rights organizations. We had LGBTQ dignity organizations and womenist organizations, but all overlaid from a Pan-African perspective. Because we've got to play three-dimensional chess. We can't play checkers anymore. And so all of these organizations lifted up their support of Sankofa 21. But what I did omit was that before we moved into these segments, we were grounded not only in prayer, but we were grounded in the principles of faith. And Bishop Allen opened us up by really speaking to our need to focus our hearts in a particular way that would then allow us to glide into these conversations in ways that would be productive. I would love it if he would share a little bit of what he blessed our hearts with on this morning, as he really did that moment of grounding.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know. I hope I did all of that. Really, as we move into really bringing our minds into a frame around who we are and our potential and our resilience, it really starts with filtering. And so I started with a statement that one of the greatest statements that was ever told to me was to observe and not absorb. And so starting from that place of, I'll say it again, observe, don't absorb. And to ground ourselves, we've had so many voices and so much noise. There's so much noise from the media. There's so much noise from so many directions, that in order for us to even be poured into and to hear what we need to hear to build, or to even decolonize and to unlearn before we learn, and to ground ourselves, we have to find a way to look at the fact that we've absorbed so much. Mm-hmm. And so it was really starting from that place and really doing some practical breathing exercises, which it's something I've been really investing a lot of my time in, and that is really breathing and understanding the nervous system, particularly when we are talking about colonized and trauma-informed community. Whether, Black people around the diaspora, one of the things that is true is that the trauma of slavery, the trauma of colonization, the trauma that white fragility has done to us in taking our names and taking our culture and taking our religion, taking our gods, taking our constructs, taking our culture, is trauma. It's all of the things that have happened that are nuanced, that we have to weed through for us to have a healthy collaboration. I believe collaboration is currency. For us to do that, we have to first ground ourselves. And I mean, we have to do that type of work before we even have policy conversations, before we have legal conversations, before we have political conversations, before we have any of these conversations. We have to ground ourselves. And so that was one of the things that I thought was really necessary. Especially, I was in my hotel room, turned on CNN, and this barrage of Epstein files and all these things. And sometimes we don't realize that the mind can forget something, but your nervous system may not. And if we're talking to Black people around the world, for us to be able to move forward, we cannot forget the clarity and the importance around centering ourselves and grounding ourselves and understanding all of these things that have impacted our mind, our body, and our spirit. And so I think that was critical. And I believe that that sort of hopefully helped with our conversation.
Bishop Allen and Bishop Tolton. Bishop Tolton, you raised the question in the opening about a third civil rights movement. And when I think about pre-construction of the United States from 1619 to 1776, and then the construction of the United States from 1776 to 1861, and obviously the American Civil War, the deconstruction of the United States, and then Reconstruction from 1865 to 1896. I think about the first significant civil rights legislation, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which was passed over Andrew Johnson's veto, which defined citizenship and granted equal rights to African Americans, followed by Civil Rights Act of 1875, prohibiting discrimination and accommodations through both, though both later faced difficult times before the Supreme Court. And then this period of Jim Crow, then Brown versus the Board of Education, and death of Emmett Till, Rosa Parks taking her seat, reflecting upon the loss of the life of Emmett Till, Dr. King coming to her rescue, and ultimately the crown jewels of the second civil rights movement, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, the public accommodations legislation. But you mentioned this idea of a third civil rights movement. And that then begs the question that the crown jewels of any third civil rights movement would culminate in similar national legislation to protect the rights of the various interest groups, the least of these, if you will, from the LGBTQIA to the Blacks to the Indigenous to Native Americans to women who've been historically locked out. Has the conference given consideration to what the legislative part of that movement would ultimately, Bishop, look like?
There's no question that we did, but and thank you for bringing us to that point. I would start with the thought that in the 60s, the African liberation movement was one stream and the Black American civil rights movement was another. Our leaders were in conversation with each other. It was actually in Ghana, when Ghana declared itself to be free, that was where Dr. King actually uttered the words, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free at last. So our leaders were in relationship and the movements were parallel. I think that this third civil rights movement is going to call for these two streams to flow into each other so that we create one river. And from a grassroots perspective, these movements become intertwined. But in terms of what is one of the legislative goals that we have, we talked intensely about the fact that in the African Union right now, there is conversation about passing a resolution which would essentially criminalize LGBTQ realities across the continent with the stroke of a pen. And this would mean being able to circumvent 54 legislative bodies across the continent and imposing these laws in places where there are no anti-queer legislations on the books at this point. And so we do know that that has to be a starting point, because one of the things that I lifted up in my remarks this morning was that this assault on LGBTQ lives is actually an assault on the African imagination. It is an assault on self-determination and the possibility of Africans to actually choose for themselves who they will be. And once you criminalize and once you subject and capture the African imagination, it means that Africa's resources become effortlessly plunderable. And this is what these anti-gay bills are about. So the Chief Justice, or the Emeritus Chief Justice of the Kenyan Supreme Court, spoke very eloquently to this. And he said, and I think I can quote him, because we asked about, well, what about the African Union? What do you think about them? And he said, oh, don't you all know the African Union, they're a bunch of house niggas. And I almost fell off my chair. That's what the man said.
I'm about to fall off mine right now.
And so that was quite shocking. But what he was getting at was, you cannot expect those who are invested in the spoils of this colonial problem that we're experiencing to actually be the gatekeepers of our deliverance. And so we are at a grassroots and tactical level going to have to create movements that insist on maintaining the constitutional order in African nations. So yes, legislatively, we're very focused on combating these anti-gay legislations, which are a mirror for an anti-democratic legislation.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Fat Meat Fridays, where our very special host and regular contributor, Gina Towns, has brought together Bishop Tolton and Bishop Allen for the purposes of discussing a very important conference on the motherland, for the purposes of discussing what's next. The civil rights movement, a third phase, a third iteration of it, that does have legislative goals and priorities. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More with Gina Towns, Bishop Tolton, and Bishop Allen when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Former Michigan coach Sharon Moore, who is black, is facing felony charges after allegedly breaking into a staffer's home and threatening suicide.
Mr. Moore, could you state your name, please?
The woman was helping with an internal investigation into their past relationship. Moore was released on $25,000 bond with a GPS monitor. A leader of the Black Lives Matter movement in Oklahoma City is facing federal charges. Prosecutors say Tashella Sherry Amore Dickerson allegedly embezzled more than $3 million while serving as executive director of the local group, using the money for personal expenses like travel, shopping, and property. And a suspect is in custody after Shaquille O'Neal's $200,000 Range Rover was stolen 6 weeks ago. Police say Anthony Del Rosario was arrested in Georgia after a license plate reader flagged his car. The SUV still has not been found. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Tough loss for the Clippers last night in Houston. They lost by 2 points, 115-113, but had two chances in the final 30 seconds to tie it or win it. Kawhi Leonard was charged with an offensive foul, and Nicholas Batum committed a violation on an inbounds pass. Third straight loss for the Clippers. They fall to 6-19. The loss ruined a great game for Clippers center Ivica Zubac. He made 13 of 14 shots to end up with a game-high 33 points. The Lakers are off until Sunday night at Phoenix. USC's football team might have to play their entire home schedule in 2028 at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood because of the Summer Olympics. The track and field competition in 2028 will be in the Coliseum, USC's home field since 1923. UCLA is also considering moving its home football games to SoFi, but on a permanent basis. UCLA has played their home games at the Rose Bowl since 1982. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whoa, whoa.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Established in 2020 during a time of deep racial unrest across our state and country, the Black Freedom Fund was created to make sure that leaders and organizations working to support Black communities and build power have the resources they need to stay in the fight for the long haul. We believe that those closest to the issues impacting our communities know best how to solve them. That's why in just the last 5 years, we've granted more than $45 million to over 200 grassroots organizations across California. That is the largest collective investment in Black organizing in history, and we're just getting started. We are clear-eyed and committed, more now than ever, to our people, our power, and our possibility. Join us in creating a future where Black people harness their full power to shape their lives and realize a just world for all. Learn more at fundblackfreedom.org. That's fundblackfreedom.org. The Black Freedom Fund is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu, medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. With Gina Towns. Gina, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Gina?
Well, thank you, and welcome to your own show. And we certainly we welcome Bishop Joseph Tolton, and we welcome Bishop O.C. Smith to the show this afternoon. You know, I've been pretty quiet during this break, really reflecting on what there's so much meat in this conference, the content that you all have discussed. I thought about maybe sometime last week, we had a discussion about the Somali delegation out of Michigan who gathered all of the elected officials and their business leaders and endorsed Donald Trump. And we had a rather robust conversation about our brothers and sisters across the diaspora and the unfortunate circumstances that we find ourselves in frequently because we don't know each other.
That's right.
And when you don't know each other, it becomes difficult to trust each other and to accept one another's values, to know and accept the struggle, if you will. It's very difficult to know the African-American struggle unless we talk. So first of all, kudos to you on planning this conference and beginning a dialogue. And then I thought about the whole notion of, and we have discussed before, the doctrine of discovery. And I think it's very unfortunate because the same circumstances exist there. Our host on Monday, Reverend Terry Howard Owens, is the president of the Disciples, the Church of Christ, Disciples of Christ, in the United States and in Canada. And she often talks about the dilemma and the ability to talk about each other's position. And it led me to the issues of compassion and empathy. And if people don't know your story, they can't empathize. We've talked about what the difference between sympathy and empathy. And we find that sometimes we don't have either for one another. So if you could just tell me, what do you think the Bishop Allen and Bishop Tolton, what is the biggest dilemma that prohibits us from reaching our goals? Because we're in a situation where we need to get to it quicker than not. So how do we bridge this gap and this dilemma, not only with our brothers and sisters, but then for people of other nationalities, particularly white Christians, who really don't even understand what they're a part of. They just know they want to love God, and they hear the word God, and then they jump on over to something that they don't even understand is racist at the core.
Yeah.
I'll start, and I'll let Bishop, he's the expert on this. But as you were talking, one of the things that resonated with me, you remember in the movie Malcolm X, when the white young lady came up to Malcolm X and said, "Oh my goodness, I love you. You're so great. You're so incredible. What can I do? What can I do? Can I please do? What do you need help with? What do you need?" And he said, "Nothing." And that particular scene has resonated with me for a very long time. I think at the core, what his response might have meant was the first thing that we have to do is we have to see each other before we try to get anybody to see us. And that's part of the problem, because we center, whiteness for whiteness to live and white fragility and all of this, the systems to work. It has to be centered. It has to, be a part of. And I think that has been one of the things that has been to our demise. But I think we have to see each other. We have to see each other's humanity. We have to see each other in each other. There was a statement that was made today that I wrote down in my notes. The statement was, human rights must be rooted in African humanism.
That's right.
And so I'm going to it may be a very controversial statement, but just work with me. I'm always controversial.
Welcome to KBLA Talk 58.
Right. I think the problem are these terms. Even the term, the alphabet soup, even the ones that we embrace, LGBTQRISTUV, black, straight, heterosexual, homosexual, which is not necessarily even consistent with African cosmology and African humanism. We were, there was no differentiation in that way. We were part of a nation. And what are you? I'm a Khan. I'm this, I'm that. And I think that the thing that colonization has done, it colonized identity. And we have to first dismantle that. We got to get the colonization out of ourselves first so that we can see each other. And once we see each other, then we can get others to see us. But I think the first frontier which is so excellent that we're having this conversation together, and that the conference that Bishop pulled together brings us all together so that we can see each other.
Absolutely.
Bishop, can I dig a little deeper on the question of fragility? When I think about the journey of our faith over the stony road that we have trod, and how we might have been at the moment of introduction to Christian systems, including but not limited to the slave Bible without the liberation narratives, part of that very same Christological orientation.
Yes.
But then we lived it, and existentially we became Nat Turner, Reverend Nat Turner, right? I mean, we became everybody talking about heaven ain't going there. We became, ultimately the Howard Thurmans, the Gardner Taylors. We became the Benjamin Mayses. We became the Bishop Toltons of these traditions where our faith became lived. But in their fragility, their theological tradition really isn't part of a liberation narrative. And the extent to which it is a liberation narrative, it runs them into the Capitol on January the 6th. It has them ordaining Donald Trump as the next coming of something. And it really has a theological undergirding to their sense of spirituality. And guess what? They're willing to die for it. They're willing to be assassinated for it. Bishop Tolton, help me right through here.
I think that it is very true that we are in the place that we are in today because we never duly punished the Confederacy.
Mm-hmm.
We never really came down on them and made them pay for what they did. And because they did not feel a certain amount of pain in response to their prejudice, it allowed them to escape believing that they could continue to operate with immunity, essentially. And I think that we're in a place now where we are actually trying to go back and rewrite that undone history. And this is the rebuke that we hear from the conservative white community. I don't want to have to pay for the sins of my father. And the truth is that it's because your father didn't have to pay for his sins, but somebody's going to have to pay because you keep inheriting the benefits of that prejudice and you continue to foster it. You continue to recycle it. And so this conversation, even about reparations, is very much so about there has to be some punishment and some redress for that which was wrong that did happen. And I think that we're living in a contemporary moment of strife because we're dealing with what is that redress going to be? And their faith has not led them to a place of repentance and redress, but their faith has actually led them to militarize their politics to want to avoid ever having to deal with what they did. You know, we both come out of the Jesus-only streams of the Pentecostal church. Yeah. And there's Acts 2:38, you know, we were raised on Acts 2:38, yes. But I still preach it. But what I preach is, have you been baptized in blackness? They said, yes. Be baptized in Jesus' name because there was a need to be baptized in the name of the one that you rejected.
Yes.
Our white folks need to be baptized in blackness.
Gina, we're coming forward in just a moment. Did you want to put an exclamation point on that for the bishop?
I totally agree. And I don't know.
Can I add something, Gina?
Sure.
Well, we have to come forward. Bishop Allen, just one second.
I'm sorry.
We've got to come forward, and I promise you we're going to pick up on this in the next segment. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with Bishop Tolton and Bishop Allen.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you coughing a lot, especially at night? Are you often short of breath? Are you using your rescue inhaler often? These could be signs that your asthma is not under control. To keep your asthma in check and help prevent an asthma attack, ask your healthcare provider for an asthma action plan. This is a personalized plan you create with your doctor that shows you what to do and what medicines to help control your asthma and to use when you're having a hard time breathing or when you're having an asthma attack. Please don't wait until you're having an asthma attack. Do something about it now. Schedule a visit with your healthcare provider today to make that action plan and take control of your asthma. For more tips and resources on the management of asthma, visit luma-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine and More.
Drink responsibly, B21. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In this our final segment, Fridays on Reflectivity with Gina Towns. In the first hour, Gina, I need a couple more hours with Bishop Tolton and Bishop Allen, and I know this is coming to an end too quickly for me. Gina, take us where we need to go in the final segment.
In the final segment, because I do think we're going to have to revisit this conversation at some point very soon. I thought about during the break as we talked about punishment, we talked about responsibility, we talked about forward, we talked about colonization. And I on those issues, what kept resonating in my spirit was a chase after the wind. And what I mean by that is our unfortunate circumstance in desegregation caused us to be more colonized. And so with us not being even in community here, and I find myself having to constantly look at where we are. And I have to address the United States first, because I do know that a lot of our brothers and sisters around the world can't quite grasp what this has been in the United States and why we, 60 years later from the second civil rights movement, are still talking about it. But of course, now we find ourselves in a regime with a president who would want to make America in what he terms great again. And so those are some of the dilemmas, but we have to look inward first. I think if Atiba was here, who is on our Wednesday, our Wealthy Wednesday show, he would say, hey, we've got to start. And I believe you have started, but even clearing our mind, the decolonization has to really let go of chasing after the wind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bishop Allen possibly can speak to this as well, but Reverend Dr. Brad Braxton, who I know you all know well, I thought he spoke so eloquently.
Chicago Theological Seminary.
There you go, baby. CTS.
Exactly. Of Arts and Theology right here.
But he spoke beautifully to this idea of a Jesus that does not work for us, and empowered us to know that we could reject those components of empire that have been imposed on Christ and therefore then imposed on us.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what he said. And this is where we have a lot of work to do, I think. Those of us who are religious, those of us who are disciples of Christ, if you will. He said, everything in the good book is not good news. And the Bible is not always good news for Black people. And that's just the truth. And he also said, any Jesus that is not interested in Black thriving is not our Jesus. And we need to take a page from our ancestors and how they would reimagine the concept of Jesus. Like you hear the story of, somebody asking about what Paul said, and Black folks saying, well, that don't have anything to do with me. What he said about slaves obey your masters. No, I tear that out and I will reimagine. And so I think as we are becoming more consistent with humanizing ourselves is also tapping into the God within ourselves, as opposed to the God that we're given, the religion we were given, the context of it, for us to be able to move forward.
I'm hoping that. I'm sorry, Bishop.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Bishop, I'm saying I'm hoping that on this particular occasion, you might yield our last 2.5 minutes when we do get to it to Bishop Allen for the word of hope, which we always ask our very special guest. I did want to say this, though, that when I think about the 28 generations from Abraham to David, and I think about the 28 generations or the 14 generations from David, Matthew 1, verse 17, from David to the Babylonian captivity, and then from the Babylonian captivity to the Messiah, those 42 generations. And I think about the religion of Jesus at the hour of his birth, that he would come in the lineage of David, from the house of David, from the neighborhood of David, from David's bosom, to be the commander of the army and repriever partner. The religion of Jesus at his birth is really to function in the lineage of David. And we get to define that. We get to define the religion of Jesus in our time for what we perceive it to be. And I quantify it mathematically. I don't just leave it in a personage of someone from Europe or images that might have been painted that have greatly troubled our minds and our own spirit energy. I leave it at math, where I know there's truth in these generations. And this is the expectation of Isaiah, that someone would come in this context to function in this system for us. And they would be, quite frankly, in a religion all by themselves, not a congregationalist or denominationalist. That's all I got on that. Before Bishop Tolton, you were about to say something, but with these final 4 minutes, I'm going to leave 2.5 of them for Bishop Allen.
Absolutely.
Bishop
We don't talk enough about the circumstance or the socio-political circumstance in which Jesus was born. Jesus was essentially born in a moment that is very, very reflective of the moment that we are having as people of African descent. Judah had demised and was in her worst condition. The poor had been completely rejected. The scribes and the Pharisees had become completely preoccupied with rules and regulations and traditions. And the Sadducees, they were interested in playing with the Greeks. They had completely abandoned the customs of the Jews. The country was in chaos, and that's why Mary encouraged her son at the wedding to turn the water into wine. She wanted him to reveal, in fact, who he was, because Judah needed a savior. I think that in this moment that we are in, we are also looking for what that answer is. And we deeply believe that as much as that answer is found in our spirituality, it will be found in a spirituality that honors African cosmologies and indigenous religions and faith possibilities.
Absolutely.
Grateful for that, Bishop Allen, a word of hope.
Yeah, it would come from the statement that we have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose. So we need to fight to the death. We can't be afraid to die. We can't be afraid of words. We can't be afraid. We're greater than anything that could have ever been done or said to us. And in the fight, no matter what, we have nothing to lose but the chains of colonization, the chains of toxicity, the chains of these very evil people who we've allowed ourselves to absorb. We have nothing to lose. So keep fighting. I'm excited to fight alongside the bishop and you all and do the work that we've been called to do.
Bishop Tolton, thank you very much. And Bishop Allen, Gina, some final thoughts?
Thank you for that word, Bishop Allen, and thank you, Bishop Tolton, for all that you've shared. One significant thing that I heard you share in your word of hope was that we must not be afraid to die. And I was immediately reminded that we are called in our fellowship to die to ourselves. And so that is the place that we must start from in addressing any of it, is that, whether it's colonization or building relationships with each other, listening, it all starts with me pouring myself out so that a higher power, so that Jesus, my fellowship of him, can live in me. So that's what I got for you.
Bishop Tolton, we are so grateful that you spent this time with us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you.
It's always such an incredible privilege to be with you today. And we bring all of those that were with us today, literally from Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Zambia, Zimbabwe, progressive voices from the continent that we don't hear enough speaking into what is hopeful and possible.
Bishop Allen, looking forward to having you back on our program again, and very grateful that you spent this time with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm honored.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Fat Meat Fridays with none other than Gina Towns on Reflectivity. More when we come forward in the next hour with Ramonski Love, the Al Capone of the microphone. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Former Michigan coach Sharon Moore, who is black, is facing felony charges after allegedly breaking into a staffer's home and threatening suicide.
Mr. Moore, could you state your name, please?
The woman was helping with an internal investigation into their past relationship. Moore was released on $25,000 bond with a GPS monitor. A leader of the Black Lives Matter movement in Oklahoma City is facing federal charges. Prosecutors say Tashella Sherry Amore Dickerson allegedly embezzled more than $3 million while serving as executive director of the local group, using the money for personal expenses like travel, shopping, and property. And a suspect is in custody after Shaquille O'Neal's $200,000 Range Rover was stolen 6 weeks ago. Police say Anthony Del Rosario was arrested in Georgia after a license plate reader flagged his car. The SUV still has not been found. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Black College Football National Championship will be decided tomorrow in Atlanta. South Carolina State takes on Prairie View A&M in the Celebration Bowl. 10-3 Prairie View is the surprise team in the final. They upset Jackson State last week to win the SWAC championship. 9-3 South Carolina State won the MEAC title. It's a 9 a.m. kickoff Pacific time tomorrow. ABC will have live coverage. The Chargers are at Kansas City on Sunday. A Chargers win eliminates the Chiefs from the playoffs. Stay tuned for details on that. The Rams are at home against Detroit. A win for the Rams keeps them in contention for a home field advantage in the NFC playoffs. A lot of folks will be tuning into the Indianapolis-Seattle game to see if 44-year-old Phillip Rivers will be the Colts quarterback. Rivers, who played 16 seasons with the Chargers, came out of retirement this week to sign with the Colts. Rivers hasn't taken a snap in 5 years. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Celebrate the soul of the holidays and support Altadena and Pasadena. Join us on Monday, December 15th, 7 p.m. inside the Bram Goldsmith Theater at the Wallace in Beverly Hills for Soul of the Holidays, a joyful night of Motor City soul, gospel, and holiday classics featuring an 18-piece band, all-star vocalist, and community choirs, all in support of the Black LA Relief and Recovery Fund. This performance comes at a pivotal time for many in Altadena and Pasadena. This is their first holiday season since the devastating Altadena Eden Canyon fire, which destroyed homes and community spaces. While the physical losses are immense, the power of community remains, and your attendance directly supports recovery, resilience, and renewal. So, be sure to join us Monday, December 15th, 7 p.m. inside the Bram Goldsmith Theater at the Wallace in Beverly Hills for Soul of the Holidays, benefiting survivors of the Altadena Eden Canyon fire. For ticket information, just log on to tickets@thewallace.org. That's tickets@thewallace.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580 and the Black Freedom Fund.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
Talk with me.
Welcome
Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
Our very special in this hour, other than the outcome of the microphone, Ramon Ski Love, ski. He is an icon behind the microphone, not only as a DJ and radio personality, but he is he is so iconic that he is part of the glue of Black Talk Radio, and quite frankly, radio nationally. Very proud of the decades that he has been of service to our community, keeping young people and old folk like me alive with something thoughtful every single day. Ski. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and more specifically, Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. What's going on, bro?
They say fat meat is greasy. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Fat meat is greasy. Happy Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday, America and the world.
Ramon Ski Love.
Ski, listen, we're gonna have a little fun in this hour with you. But you come across, so many different stratas of our community. I mean, you hear the word before the news hears the word. You hear what's going on before the news even reports the news, because it really does bubble up from the streets. And if you haven't approached it already, you're probably over 1 million subscribers to your morning program, heading to international proportions in terms of support. Ramonski, what's going on in the world, man?
I received that. If you recall BON back in the day, and they had the news, I want to say Mr. Palmer, and they used to Palmer. And they used to start the drums of Africa. And that's how news traveled before there were internet, before there was television, before there was anything. So keeping your ear I hear those drums. I hear the ancestral drums, because after over 40 years, I'm still in the streets. Omni-channel radio is my home. Omni-channel radio, your heartbeat for soul is our tagline. And 4.3 million people stream us a month. We're the largest streaming digital radio station in the world. And wow. I'm so honored and grateful to the Most High for keeping me. And now he's maintaining me. He saved me one day, and now he's maintaining me. So 4.3 million, and my show is about 1.7. And we out of Chicago, born and raised. I am in Chicago. But to answer your question, stay ready. And I think God has prepared me for this time in my life. I've done every day part in radio in my over 40-year career. Producer, promotions. I used to drive the truck, the vans with the t-shirts. People used to run down the street. Ski, let me get a t-shirt. So, oh man, it was bananas. It was a t-shirt. I would get mobbed for a t-shirt back in the day. But he's prepared me for now, because I was the producer for one of the greatest morning men ever, which was Doug Banks. Rest in peace. He saw something in me years ago. I used to take the train up the middle, he used to call it, then go all the way to the end of the line, Oak Park, 408 South Oak Park Avenue, BMX, the Oak Park Arms Hotel. And that was my start. I was his intern. So now, 40 years later, I have my own morning show. How y'all running? How he prepared me for this time. I did nights, I did weekends, I did afternoons. But as you know, morning is the highest level in radio, unless you're going to be an owner or program director. But I love the microphone. I love to entertain. I love to encourage. And I love giving information. And we do it every morning along with my executive producer, Big Papa, 5 a.m. to 9.
I love Big Papa. Hey, you're going to recognize this from our guy, the 805 guy with Doug Banks.
805. Doug was the master of these different characters. and it's like with Herb Kent, another one of our legends, it's radio is theater of the mind. So you couldn't see us, but behind the scenes, it was a lot of magic happening. And he would take this megaphone and he would record himself. It was, remember the Men on the Roof? And he would use his megaphone.
Wow.
2 men, and they were his attorneys, the Men on the Roof, 805 guy. He had the deer in the phone booth. He was the master. People listened to the music, but they couldn't wait for the breaks to hear what he had come up with next. And I miss him. I miss him so much. I miss him, Doug Banks, DB, as we used to call him.
He was absolutely the man. We have just a few seconds before we come forward. In fact, we come forward right now. For this hour, none other than the legendary Al Capone of the microphone. Ramonski Love is our very special guest on the Gina Towns Show. Fat Meat Fridays on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Ramonski Love.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
I got the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates our own Keith Underwood, host of the weekend entertainment show Black in the Green Room, on his recent honor at the annual National Arts and Entertainment Journalism Awards. Keith received a first place award presented by the Los Angeles Press Club for his entertainment reporting, and we couldn't be prouder. Congratulations, Keith, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Malik Books on celebrating 35 years in business.
It's a celebration.
Malik Books proudly houses one of the largest African American and diverse children's books in the nation. This is the perfect time to pick up holiday reads, meaningful gifts, and to support literacy in our community. For 35 years, Malik Books has stood strong in the Black Book Revolution, uplifting stories that that heal, inspire, and transform. One reader at a time. Change your thoughts, change your life. Books are the gift that keeps giving. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, congratulations to Malik Books on 35 years of culture, pride, and community.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk
I'm
with me.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest on Fat Meat Fridays, hosted by the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Gina Towns, is none other than the great, iconic Ramonsky Love. That's not what his mother named him. She named him Ray Wade, who is a veteran Chicago radio personality known for his long stints on urban stations like B103, WGCI, famous for his popular evening shows, community involvement, and being dubbed the Al Capone of the microphone by Doug Banks, inspiring many with messages of hope, perseverance, despite career changes. He's a Columbia College grad with deep Chicago roots, still active in radio, including recently 95.1 FM Club Steppin' Ski. Welcome forward to
Channel Radio. I'm in channel radio. That's us.
Hey,
All day.
let me ask you a question. Can you share with us, because the platforms have changed now. I can listen to Ramonsky Love in London